Well, he was shot in the face 8 years ago and survived. Now that Milwaukee man is sharing his story with the world in a new documentary.
And that man hopes to be a voice for other victims, and he hopes to encourage people to put the guns down. CBS 58's Winnie Dortch introduces you to Claude Motley.
It was June 21st, 2014.
As I took off, he shot. I didn't know what happened.
Claudier Motley was dropping off a friend near 63rd and Capitol. He didn't pull off right away and waited to make sure his friend got inside safely. Those few seconds cost him. 2 cars were able to corner him in.
I realized that something was wrong because all 3 individuals that was in the car that was next to me turned their head real quick. And I saw the gap between the 2 cars, and I was like, I'm going to drive through.
The suspect tapped on the window with his gun, firing 1 shot before Motley escaped.
I looked down, I saw all the blood rushing. So my first thought was where I got to go. And
he drove himself to the hospital. 16-year-old Nathan King was sentenced to 12 years in prison a year later for attempting to steal Motley's car and shooting him in the face. Have you forgiven Nate?
You know, yes. And I can say that absolutely. And especially when you start to work and understanding the whole situation. When you look at Nate, Nate was a child.
Motley knew his story needed to be told on a bigger platform. It's now a documentary called When Claude Got Shot.
The violence and the anguish that ripples through the community every time someone gets shot. And that is something that I'm just happy to share, that people can relate to, and that people can actually motivate people to say, hey, listen, what do we need to do to try to stem this epidemic?
8 years later, and Motley says gun violence is still tearing families to pieces.
It's absolutely frustrating. Actual issues aren't being addressed that's allowing this to actually be curbed. When we talk about what makes a child, a 15-year-old child, pick up a gun.
Motley wants the community to know he's doing his part by sharing his story and investing time in young people and programs.
There is hope.
In Milwaukee, Winnie Dortch, CBS 58 News.